Man, what wild shit did your ass get into?
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Jamal and Joe Show. I am Jamal.
I'm Joe, and that's a little presumptuous. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, right? And,
But, you know,
geez, man, we've been doing this, almost about 2 months, and, what a crazy world, man. This week has been a crazy week. I don't even know where to start.
Isn't that what we say pretty much every single week?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I learned a long time ago to never ever say it can't get any worse.
Yeah.
That's right about the time that you get just kicked.
Things get worse. I remember we had a conversation about that years ago. It can't get any worse. Oh, yes, it can.
No, I mean, no reason to tempt anything, but
no, not at all.
You know, sorry, I'm gonna adjust my shot. Boom.
There you go.
Yeah, even where you want to begin?
Oh, I guess we got to begin with our fearless leader, Mr. Donald John Trump. I guess we got.
Won't it be great if there's a day when we don't have to do that? You know what I'm saying? We can begin with either a new fearless leader who's going to be great, or because maybe things are all swell in the world, something else that is, I mean, at this point, apparently mundane and boring. And anyhow, go ahead, please.
I mean, the guy gives me. I could do a whole show just on what the guy does during the week.
Well, I mean, dude, 24-hour news channels. I mean, make that's and. Sorry, I should write this down, but because I know I interrupt too much. But I mean, there is something to be said, I think, for the idea that, I mean, there's so much revenue being made from so many clicks and so many views and so many eyeballs, all around the talk show host guy who runs the whole thing now. And
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's not like they're not benefiting from it in some way. That's all.
No, not at all.
But you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, let's just start with the fact that as of the time of recording, he is quote unquote out of quarantine.
Cured?
Whether or not he's still contagious, we don't know. But how reckless is this guy? Just the gall of this guy to think that he knows more than the scientists, he knows more than the doctors, and yeah, man. I mean, he went from COVID was a hoax and it was a Democrat, drummed up thing to he got it. And now that he got it, he's saying it was a miracle from God that I got it.
Or I'm so amazing because I beat it.
Yes.
And all you got to do too is just go back to work like I did, and you too can be. I mean, yeah, it's just the one thing you got to be able to say is that his ability to control the narrative completely. Look already. I mean, it's the first thing that we're doing is talking about what, not necessarily what he wants us to talk about, but at the same time, any of the other number of things that we could be talking about relevant to him as far as problems or not. It's just Trump's sick and makes a freaking circus out of being sick.
The thing that disturbs me about it is there are people out there, even some people watching this, that are going to believe him. And that is just as disturbing as anything else. I mean, if I could go to Walter Reed Medical Hospital and get treated for every little thing that happened to me, then sure, I'd be the healthiest person on the planet. But there's 200,000 people laying in a box right now who weren't afforded that kind of treatment, and they didn't make it.
Well, and I think even as far as the treatment goes, just from my layman understanding, you know, the steroids and stuff that he's been given, you know, he's well beyond like any normally prescribed amount.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
that to any normal person, they would never keep giving them this much. You know what I mean? And again, if we talk about the idea of projection, like he literally accused Biden like a week or two ago of the idea, because again, like everything he does, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
a guy I heard, some people I know, some folks are talking. I'm just talking, but that's his whole like get out of jail free card of I'm not responsible for anything I say.
Right.
I phrase it as a fucking question, and we're all supposed to go, good one, bud. I like I said, he's able to get away with pretty much everything he does like that by just, you know, I'm not saying it. I'm
like, you know, this is what I'm hearing. This is what people are saying. This is not my official opinion. I'm just repeating what I heard.
Right. But meanwhile, I'm going to lay this big accusation out there that other than his ability to obfuscate by, you know, creating some new shitstorm to look at so that you're missing all the other problems that he's causing. So thanks for that. Yeah. No, for real. Like I forgot where I was tying that in with the whole sickness thing. And so she saved me. Thanks. But you were saying the initial point of he was sick, now he's better.
Well, he's allegedly better. I mean, it's only been 8-9 days. I mean, you know, they say it's 10 to 14 days before you should be, you know, back out in general population with people. And you know,
he's been mixing it up with everybody. He was only quarantined for what, 2 days? I mean,
something like that. I mean, it's
well, he went to the hospital and then he came back out like he came back out 2 days later.
And you've got Republican senators who are avoiding the White House, like Mitch McConnell, because for all the things we say about Mitch McConnell, you know, he said he's avoided the White House because of their loose standards when it comes to masks and social distancing.
Oh, dude, well, first things first, him. I mean, they're all that way.
Right.
You know? I mean, the first thing they're thinking about is themselves. And so if it really got to the point where there was an actual threat to themselves that could not somehow be cured by towing the line for the dawn, then, I mean, and this is one, because no matter how hard they tow the line for the administration, you walk into the White House right now, you're probably going to get sick, you know?
Exactly.
And so that's the line. Hey, we found out what the line is for a Republican to finally say no to Trump. It's when they're literally physically faced with their own, like, you're going to get sick and die.
Their own mortality.
Like, like it's not just like a possibility. Like, it's almost guaranteed right now because it sounds like, I mean, you couldn't scrub that place hard enough with bleach to cure the funk that's in it.
I mean, is that possible? I mean,
they bent over it, right?
I mean, they just keep passing it back and forth. I mean, you know, I don't know.
Well, I guess that's the thing, right? Because they're gonna. I mean, none of them are gonna actually like, you know, take the you know, follow protocols as far as, you know, masks and distancing and whatnot. I mean, none of them are doing that. So
yeah,
and good luck with that, I guess. I don't.
Yeah. So talk to me about this fly.
Nice.
What's your take on the fly?
Flies are attracted to poop, like I'm sure most folks have made that connection by now. I heard some people try to reference that flies are attracted to honey and like, oh, because he's so sweet. And I'm like, boy, you're really stretching. I mean,
is it
like remember the cartoon where it was like, the dude could stretch and he'd pull his ass like, and he would, or more recently, The Incredibles, right? The mom had that ability.
Yeah, the ability
that kind of stretching. That's the reference I'm going to make. The mom in Incredibles, because that's, I guess, a little more recent. Dude, that is just weak sauce. I mean, And it's amazing some of the crap I hear trying to you know what people trying to justify why they're going to vote for him because they know that they're going to vote for him. They know no matter what they're going to vote for Trump.
Right.
They know it. But they're trying to justify why on earth, like I said, you know, that like, you know, since you mentioned the debate, right, with the Kamala
Harris.
Kamala, right? Sorry, I should say it properly. That she didn't live up to expectations. You know, and I'm like, I admit I did not watch the whole thing. I can only take listening to that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to phrase things nice.
Yeah.
For some reason. I don't know why, but damn, I just can't take listening to that guy talk. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of listening to politicians talk, and honestly, I did not listen to too many of Obama's speeches. I wish I would have, because right now that would sound like music.
Mm-hmm.
It would literally sound like music when you hear somebody talk like a goddamn adult.
Yes.
Like an educated person.
Yes.
It's refreshing to your brain. I don't know if folks realize, maybe we all don't as a whole, the assault that we've really been under. And that is really the strategy of it all, is the constant barrage. I'm going to sit forward because this is where it's important. The constant barrage that we're all under, and we all know it. I mean, it's not like it's a surprise. Your phone, everywhere you look, you're under the constant and we all had phones before Trump. We all had the internet before Trump. But the way that it has been just abused and beaten and just every other adjective that describes something getting messed up and taken advantage of and pillaged and whatnot.
I mean, if we want to keep it on the debate for a minute.
Sure.
I watched the first 3/4 of it live. And then I shut it off and I went back to it. And the defining moment of the debate to me was when Pence asked Harris a question, and the debater, the moderator's like, you know, refer your questions to me, not to each other. And he's like, she's refusing to answer the question. And I had to pause it on the DVR for a second. And I said to myself, this cat didn't answer a question for the first 45 minutes I watched the debate. And he has the nerve to say she's not answering a question. He repeatedly talked over her. He repeatedly talked over the moderator.
Sure.
He didn't answer the question. He tried to go to his talking points. And then he has the nerve to say, answer a question. I don't know if offended is the right word, because I've been offended by the last 3.5 years. But
right.
The fact that he didn't show her respect as a senator or even as a person to answer the questions in a timely fashion and not refer to, I mean, here's the deal. He kept referring to Donald Trump like remember back in the day when you would have that one person who was trying really hard to be in the group, and he's like, oh man, Bob is so great, he does this. Bob is so great, he does that.
The whole group is like
little groupie. I mean, he's the vice president of the United States. Like, the one thing he's done, right? Let's go back to the very first part of the debate. He came out and said, I was the captain of the coronavirus task force.
Ooh, he said that proudly?
What's that? Pence. Yeah, he said it proudly. If I was the captain of the task force, I'd be trying to deflect that away from me. There's no way I'm going to own that. But he was like, we did this, and Kamala Harris is like, there's 200,000 people dead right now. There's millions of others sick. You guys knew this in January, and you downplayed it on purpose.
Which is the proper response. And again, like I said, I did not see all of it. I saw bits, and when I saw that shit on his lip had some shit on his lip, I mean,
yeah.
I was like, man, look at this zombie Pence just showed up. I mean,
and then he had pink eye in that eye, and
well, that's what that was my lip reference, was the eye. I was just going back to, but I mean, at this point, it almost seems like they're actively trying to get folks sick. I mean, people were kind of claiming that, and I think you could hear the argument that they were doing that the whole time with this corona thing. But that would wander into, some conspiracy land. And okay, fine. I'm trying, I mean, and these are the last people on earth to give the benefit of the doubt to.
Right.
For God's sake. But
Yeah.
okay, fine. But at this point, they can like knowingly be proven that they're sick, and they're hiding it so that they can go and infect literally the other side. I mean, holy shit. If that, honestly, if I'm wrong, gosh, I guess strike me down, but I don't think I am. I don't think they're that naive about it. I mean, I don't know. The whole thing is just so ridiculous. And it's like a building snowball of ridiculousness. And I don't know. I guess we're the little village at the bottom of the hill.
I mean, is his ego that big to where?
Oh, stop that!
Okay, all right, that's what we're talking.
And come on.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
I mean, the press secretary's sick. I mean, look at all the people in the White House that are sick. I mean, people are afraid to go to the White House because. I know people.
Shameful.
I personally know people that have had COVID and have gotten over it.
Really? Okay.
And yeah, a few people here.
I mean, again, we're I don't personally, so I'm keen to hear anybody's experience, even if it's like a secondhand experience.
Yeah. I know people that have personally had COVID and they were pretty sick. There was one person that ran 103, 104 fever for 3 or 4 days, and they were going to put that person in the hospital if they didn't, break the fever.
Wow.
And they stayed away from people for 14 to 17 days just because they needed to be 3 or 4 days free without a fever. And obviously they didn't get Regeneron or whatever the heck they gave Trump. I don't know if it turned sustainable for him, but the few people that I know were really conscientious and stayed away from people and quarantined until they felt they were like legit can be around people. But there's no way you should have been in a car with some Secret Service people while you're still actively contagious.
Again, an argument that I've heard. And the folks making these arguments, if it's just trolling stuff to get folks to watch your podcast, I guess I get it, and I need to do more of that. But dang, I mean, and they're young folks, to me young, where they go, oh, I can't believe anybody's complaining about the Secret Service having to ride in a car with it. They get paid to catch bullets. That's their job. And I'm like, man, again, if this is a joke, it ain't funny. Right. And these are pro comedian dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not a joke, little bug, if it's not a joke, then how are you so either ignorant of how the world works or just that callous and evil that you expose folks for no good reason
for a photo op?
That's what I'm saying. And if your good reason is a photo op, then that's pretty damn shameful. And if you could like go back in time and show folks just like a clip, one day's worth of headlines.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you could go back 10 years, 5 years.
Right.
Hell, 5 years, right? Just, before we knew what we were getting into, that'd be nice.
Right.
It is almost incomprehensible. And that is that feeling of just not feeling so disconnected from what is going on. Like, how is this even real?
The thing is, there was people who warned us of this, right? There were people who said This guy is not ready. He is not qualified. He is going to be an unmitigated.
How did anybody need somebody to tell them that?
Well, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. So I'm in North Carolina,
mm-hmm.
and I'm in what they call a purple state or a swing state, right? It could go blue, it could go red. It went for Obama the first time, and it went for Trump. Well, it went for Obama, and then it went for Trump. You know, so the first time when Obama ran, it went for him. So it goes back and forth. It's a purple state. So there's people here who like to ride that middle when they're really one side or the other, but it's not really, you know, socially acceptable to go to the other, to go one way or the other, so they ride the middle. But there were people who were pretty, you know, left-leaning Democrats that did not vote for Hillary because of two things. One, they didn't want to vote for a woman. And two, they didn't personally like Hillary. Whether that was because of the emails or whatever reason, or her connection to Bill, they didn't like Hillary. So they voted for Trump.
Or they didn't vote.
Now, some of these people regret it. And they're like, I can't believe I voted for Trump, but I didn't want to see Hillary be president. Now, we could do a whole show on why people didn't like Hillary and whether that was warranted or not, but they got what they asked for. They voted this guy in and they got what they asked for, but they physically did not like Hillary. It wasn't like they liked Trump. They didn't like Hillary, and they said basically if there was anybody else, they would have voted for them, but they didn't.
Which is like, I mean, they seriously still bring up like Hillary to like, as like some attack point. You're like, holy shit, she's not even running.
Right.
What are you doing? But it gets a certain core amount of people. Like, it's like I ever studied the whole Pavlov's dog, right? I mean, ding, ding, food, you know? I mean, I don't know. It's incredible. That the standard has just been lowered so far. But yet, you know damn well, if praise baby Jesus, Biden wins, and the standard that he's going to be held to, it's going to be so stupid.
I know.
You know, I mean, like the criticism. I mean, the criticisms already for Biden, at least from what I've heard. We go with Sleepy Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right? He stutters, maybe I've heard, or he stammers.
Mm-hmm.
Forgets where he's at. Uh-oh, I've done that. I've done those things too. Oh, shit.
Done it tonight, yeah.
Yeah, right. And again, I'm not running, and neither are you. But let's compare him to the person he's running against. Gosh, that guy's never made a gaffe. I mean,
that guy has made his living off of making gaffes.
Again, I just don't get where these folks that, you know, again, if it's just trolling to get clicks, then fine, groovy. But, and again, I like devil's advocate ideas. But sometimes that's just stupid, you know? I mean, anyway. So, again, and the whole thing about the debates is that, I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody is going to be changing their minds.
No.
From the debate.
No. I think one thing you texted me during the week was there are no more undecided voters. If somebody is undecided right now, I believe.
I just don't even know how. And again, I have heard folks say that there are a lot of folks that stayed home the last election because they weren't inspired to go out for whatever reason. That somehow that same group of folks or a similar group of folks are still somehow up for grabs. Mm-hmm. And that just stuns me. I mean, you're either on that Trump train or you ain't, you know? Right.
And there's no middle ground.
And it's just choo-choo, motherfucker, you know? I mean, that's all that is. I mean, that's, you know, you're from here and you know what the burbs are like. Yeah. It's not even, I mean, it wasn't all just the burbs. I mean, it wasn't like it didn't exist in Portland as well. It was more predominant in the burbs.
Right.
1,000%. And it is still now. And it's just, what that is. And that's what that whole mentality is. It's just that my team is the only thing. Honestly, it feels like in school, because I mean, it just feels like people were rooting for football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the big flag on the back of their truck, and
right. I mean,
I don't know. I didn't want to devote this whole show to the current inhabitant of 16.
And we're not. I mean, we're not going to. I mean, the debates are legitimate to talk about.
Well, here's the thing with the debates. So Trump says he's not going to participate in the next debate because they want to do it virtually because he's got COVID.
Like I said, he wants to fucking cough on people and get them sick. Sorry, I know.
So I mean, but we're doing this on Zoom. We're 3,000 miles away. Like we're doing pretty well.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm fucking wrong. Sorry, that's the third one.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. No.
Third one in less than half an hour. I'm failing. I'm going to go with a different one because I'm going to. It's not any more fun. Because why start off light?
Right.
And I should know her name. All I know, the governor of Michigan.
Yes, the governor of Michigan
is a badass lady.
She is,
and I salute that lady for her badassness. A lot of folks said, "Why is she not on the ticket?" And I gotta say, with the way that she has handled, and again, I have not followed it a lot, but the last few days have been kind of more reason to follow the state of Michigan and the governor. But the way that she's handled herself, the few times I've seen her talk, it makes me go, wow, that lady.
She's on it.
I know it would blow folks. It would.
Gretchen Whitmer is her name.
Thanks.
Gretchen Whitmer.
Miss Whitmer. Tip my hat. For a few reasons, and I'd like to break it down real quick.
That's good.
So for one, I know she's been a very strong governor for the state in response to the pandemic and mandating masks and shutdowns and whatnot. I don't track how that's gone with their numbers for COVID, so I'm sure there's a bar graph that could show that for me, but whatever. I think that she's at least made that effort, which is, I just applaud that kind of, decisive. You're making a big person decision, and it's the right one to do. Good job. And I know she got a ton of pushback from that, and apparently a lot more than just pushback, because now recently it was learned that there were they're not militia. These people are not militia. These people are terrorists.
They're terrorists.
They're white terrorists. I'll just say that they're terrorists. If you look at their pictures, they're all white guys. So I'll just say some terrorists in Michigan, homegrown terrorists. That's what they used to call Timothy McVeigh, right? The homegrown terrorists. So a whole bunch of these assholes were all playing paintball in the woods or something and decided they'd go play G.I. Joe together. And they actually made a plan to kidnap the governor and I think execute her or ransom her, or I don't know, but I know that they were planning on kidnapping her.
Yeah.
So, and again, how can you? Would you like to guess whether or not they were taken into custody alive and unharmed? And might I point out before you answer, this is my buyer. This is not a buy or sell. I got to come up with the name of these. Before you answer, let me just make sure you have all the info, because these heavily armed, in their manifest, I think they have a manifesto. They certainly had plans that they found. There was FBI folks infiltrated, so they had intel for like a while about these folks trying to they came up with a plan to kidnap a governor of a state in the United States of America.
It just sounds so.
Terrorists did this, by the way. Terrorists, if they were Muslim folks, we might hear more about it.
Oh man, yeah.
But they weren't. They weren't. Turns out they're good Christian folks, except they're bad Christian folks. And what the hell, Christian folks? Where have some of these folks gone so awry? Because I'm not a Christian folk, but I've heard about some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard about some of the teachings of all of that. And again, I didn't read all the book. I bet a lot of them haven't either. But I got some of the gist of a lot of it. And so anyway, these non-good Christian folk that are white and male and badly bearded and heavily armed made a plan to kidnap, I'm repeating this because it's kind of important, made a plan to kidnap the actual sitting governor of the state of Michigan, United States of America.
It just sounds weird when you say it out loud.
Well, it needs to be said out loud because it's kind of damn important. I mean, this is a thing that has happened. And I'm glad that, anything was done. But again, I can't help think about all those other times I've seen examples of folks that have been trying to give up to the police,
mm-hmm.
trying to surrender to the police,
mm-hmm.
and still getting killed.
Yes. And these folks had bad intentions.
These folks are anyway, so that happened. And this fine lady is still just governing away. And I'm going to find hopefully a clip of the press conference recently where she has a sign language interpreter
mm-hmm.
who is just the best. I mean, if we could ever have a sign language interpreter for some reason, I want it to be this lady.
Yeah, just down here on the bottom of the screen, like right here.
Oh my gosh.
It's going nuts.
She's so good. And I mean, you could tell kind of what she's feeling, about what's going on. And so anyway, that happened. White terrorists they were not from any, they were citizens of the United States. They were residents of Michigan. So yeah, good on that lady for standing tough in the face of all that nonsense.
I mean, could you imagine? So I know where you were going with this, so let's go down this path. Right. What if those were homegrown, but they were of the Muslim or Arab background?
Or I don't know, they could just be black people.
Or black people.
That were just Christian black people that decided
you would have
whatever they're going to do. I mean, oh my gosh.
You would have our fearless leader on TV from his hospital bed talking about how great the FBI is.
I mean, this is all the stuff that they are screaming and pissing themselves about, that they worry about the Antifas.
Yes.
Honestly, again,
you're right.
I mean, it's every single time these folks accuse somebody of something, it's because they're doing it. Every 100% of the time.
Now, what if this was Antifa trying to kidnap a governor? It would be all over the place.
Are you kidding? I mean, dude, Waco would have looked like a freaking Cub Scout picnic.
Yes.
Cookout with a tiny barbecue.
Oh.
If Antifa had a compound and a fucking plan to kidnap the damn governor and blow up a bridge. They had explosives. They were trying to get them.
Right. Antifa wouldn't have a compound. It would have been stomped out day one. But
well, yeah, right. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
here's the thing. Here's the thing I will say. Here's the thing I will say. I'm not anti law enforcement. I'm anti like bad cops. But
For sure. That's
kudos to the FBI for infiltrating this group so quickly. I mean,
and acting upon it.
I mean, you are, or you were back in the day, a lot closer to law enforcement than I ever was, right? And you knew a lot of people in law enforcement on both sides.
Mm.
And I don't know what it goes into some of these operations to infiltrate groups. Thank God they're out there. But my goodness, how quickly did those guys get on that? I mean, they had somebody on the inside damn near from the time they started talking about it. So, I mean,
sure.
I
like one of the first things that Trump did, his administration, was they took white terrorist or white supremacists off the terror watch group.
Correct. Yes.
That seems somehow tied to this, maybe.
Potentially, yes. I come from the school of thought that
why would you take those guys off the list? Because they just redeemed themselves so much. Well, because they all turned in their "I'm a piece of crap" card, and
remember, there's good people. There's good people on both sides.
Oh yeah. Stop it. Okay, so
if you're a terrorist, it doesn't matter what skin color you are. You're a terrorist.
Of course, dude. If you can be called an evildoer, right? Because that was W's famous thing, right? When back in back in 9/11,
right?
Anybody could be. That was the one thing I took away from Patriot Act all those years ago, was that it gave the right for the president to label anybody an evildoer,
right?
And that equals terrorist, and then that equals you can get just disappeared and gone.
Yeah, you can get it.
And all your rights are gone too, because you've been labeled a terrorist. Right. And that was 20 years ago.
Isn't that crazy that was 20 years ago?
But how has that not been so enforced or even more enforced until now, more exploited rather, until now? It seems like it's actually being exploited, or a lot more so. That anybody can be called, a threat, essentially. I mean, you can literally just anybody, and then bam, all your rights are done. You're gone. And that has been I don't think that's changed in the Patriot Act for 20 years, right?
No, I mean, it's basically weaponizing legislation. It's a way to neutralize enemy groups of whatever administration is currently in the White House.
So is that the gentleman's agreement then?
That goes back to what you said.
It goes back, and as each administration goes from one side to the other, nobody really lays the wood to the other side and just hammers them all down, because they know that if they lose the next election, then all of their guys, they're all going to get hammered down too. And so nobody really, that's the big gentleman's agreement.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how many months have you been saying that?
So we might see that. And who knew that agreement could get thrown right out the window and people would just start shooting, I mean, fuck.
I mean, let's go to what happened in Portland a few months ago, month and a half ago, with these people driving around in unmarked minivans, pulling folks off the street.
That would be a fine example.
And not charging them and, taking them down to the federal courthouse and questioning them. And the people who are being pulled off the street don't know who they're being pulled off the street by. Are they being kidnapped? Are they being detained? You got these military, I don't know what you want to call them, but I mean.
You've seen the videos, right?
Oh, I saw the videos. Absolutely, I saw the videos.
What would you call that if you were standing in the streets and those dudes ran up?
I would say they were kidnapped by terrorists, is what I would say.
I mean, you go, oh, maybe they're cops because but it's a van, so that's kind of weird. But I mean, like, I've seen a lot of like government vehicles, the plain ones, and there's a lot of, they're not all cop cars, government vehicles are a wide array of vehicles, and to include vans,
Mm-hmm.
even minivans. And yes, while it looks a little odd for a minivan to pull up and a bunch of goons to pile out, I agree. Because it's effed up. Because all they have to do is display one little patch. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the messed up thing. Because all they got to do, they can still roll 9 deep in the damn minivan
Mm-hmm.
with plain ass government plates,
Mm-hmm.
and they can all pile out like mobsters, all geared up to the limit. They can do all those things. All they got to do is have one little patch.
An insignia that signifies who they are.
That's all they got to do. And I mean, usually they love all their fancy patches.
Right.
These guys love all their gear and kit and stuff. So here's one time they don't actually put it on. That's weird.
And I mean, we have constitutional protections that I think we need to take pretty seriously.
Those gentlemen's agreements again.
Yeah. And if a government entity is going to detain me, there are certain rights that I am afforded by being a United States citizen. And those people in my hometown who were pulled off the street in those minivans were not read their rights. They were not told why they were being detained or where they were being taken. I mean, just basic things that if we're talking about our civilized society that should happen, those things did not occur. They were not afforded those rights.
And you're familiar with that area down there as far as geographically speaking.
Yeah.
Because
I got a lot of time down there.
Right. And, because I've talked to a lot of folks where they're like, oh, all across the country, and they're like, oh my gosh, how was Portland? Is it all burning down or whatever? I'm like, no, it's just a few block area, whatever, right? Because it's all down by all the law area, right? All the Justice Building and the courthouses and all that. And so, like, from my understanding, at least the one that I saw where a person got swept up by those guys, some were speculating that it almost looked like a recovery.
Like it was one of their plants that they put in there and they were going in to get their guy and bring him home.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that. That's interesting.
But anyway, I mean, again, because conspiracy obviously should run wild on something like this because, hello, that's some odd effed up stuff that is not supposed to be happening. And again, it's such simple, like they're going out of their way to not, identify themselves at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guarantee you, like all the other Army guys you see that are all over downtown, and they're all dressed the same. They have all the same gear on. You know what I'm saying? They all look like huge stormtroopers. And I guarantee you they all have some patch with their name on it and
who they represent.
Right. So, I mean, to go out of their way that much to not have that it is, and like I say, talking about like the area down there, I mean, like where they were swept up, the one that I saw that looked like that kind of recovery, maybe potentially whatever it was, like that was apparently several blocks out away from,
the
core
area.
That kind of core area. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if there's certain jurisdictions that certain federal agencies were having to, we have to stay by the courthouse, we have to stay on the sidewalk. And so the only way that we can go out and do shit like this is to, take off all our badges and go do this. Yeah. So I don't know. It's one of many steps that has happened. And not one that we should be trying to get used to. Because we don't, I mean, the things that are becoming normalized, are not good.
We talked about that before when you go back to the Patriot Act and you go back to 9/11. I mean, my wife and I were talking about this the other day when we were driving by the airport. And I mean, I said this a couple of weeks back. I mean, I remember back in the day when you take somebody to the airport, you damn near walk them on the plane, help them buckle themselves in.
You could wait for them when they got off the plane, right?
I mean, right there at the gate.
Yeah.
You know, and in a span of, so think about this. Think about how the world changed in a span of 96 hours.
Yeah, I mean,
right? From the time that the last plane hit until the time that they started flying again, they changed everything, right? They basically, I mean, and for the good, right? We had to for the better, you know, initially. Now, there's a lot of things in the Patriot Act that I really.
I'm gonna hold you on right there. What parts were for the good?
At the time, going back to 2001, we didn't know at that moment. Well, the general public didn't know at that moment how those people infiltrated the planes. We didn't know.
Okay.
We didn't know how they got through the screening. We didn't know what the failures were. There was a lot of unknowns, right?
Gotcha.
And when you have unknowns, people in power can use that against the general public.
For sure.
We later found out they had razor blades or box cutters or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So at the time, the thought was this was an ongoing plot and they were going to continue to do this. So they basically shut everything down in order to make sure that nothing got through. They, you know, the pendulum swung way to the other side, right? You know, and then, you know, you had later on the guy with the shoe bomber. Yeah. So there was all these things going on that we didn't really know. Someone knew. I didn't know. You didn't know. Right. How these things got through security. They had video of these guys walking on, being very cordial. They had audio of them on the plane. So they swung the pendulum all the way in a span of 4 days to lock everything down because they were afraid that someone else was going to do something else. Right. Now, what then happened was we as a general public said, hey, great, do it. Here's my shoes. Here's my shirt. I'll take everything off to be able to get on this plane. Right. I'll do whatever I need to. We acquiesced everything in order to be able to fly. Right. Powers that be put that into place and it became the norm. Initially, and maybe it was out of fear, I don't know. But I remember we were working together back then, and I remember getting that call at like 6 o'clock in the morning or 5, whatever time it was, our time versus New York time. And my mom was like, turn on the TV, New York is under attack. And I'm like, what? Talking about New York's under attack. Turn on the TV. And I turned on the TV about a minute before the second plane hit. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Right? So I get up, I get ready, I go to work. By the time I get to work, you know, everything else is going on. We're walking around the office. You know, both of you and I had to go into the courthouse every day, so we're freaked out not knowing what's going on. And I think the general fear of the country said, take as many rights as you need to keep me safe. Whether or not I'm flying, take the rights, take them all. And, you know, if we're talking conspiracy, tell me this. How did the Patriot Act get written so fast? That thing was thick, right? You've seen it. It was a big book like this. Yeah, right. Somebody put that together really quickly, or that thing was sitting ready to go.
Laying around. Well, and you talk about like the idea of like the willingness to give up rights in an emergency, with the idea that maybe we get that back when the emergency's dealt with, because the agreement, the gentleman's agreement that apparently means nothing between the people and the people that run the people, is that if some shit pops up and you got to take some drastic measures, say like I don't know, pandemic, right? And you got to take some drastic measures. Take the drastic measures that you need to take to make a successful, you know, lock it down. Right. And I mean, but really lock it down. You know, I mean, we really locked down air travel, but we didn't really lock down the country for the pandemic.
No. And I think you hit on an important point there, was in a time of emergency. And I think with 9/11, the emergency never ended.
Yeah, we've been, and that was, as soon as I heard back then, we're gonna a war on terror.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, fuck. That's like number 6. I was like, man, we're going to war forever.
Yep. Yep.
We're the war industry country now. Because apparently, a war on an idea, that's a thing that can be fought with bullets. Who knew?
Mm-hmm.
But what it is really good at, of course, is a huge, industry of making bullets.
But a war on terror, it can go on indefinitely.
That's the point. That's the
Right.
idea. You
But
can make bullets for that war on terror forever.
You don't get your freedoms back because we're still at war.
Oh no, it's everything bad. I mean, we lose freedoms. Our military budget goes through the roof, so all of our domestic infrastructure budget goes just in the toilet. And then all those, if you're at all tied to defense contracting, your life's pretty sweet. And, you just it just seems a way to milk this country dry. I mean, take a look at like the stupid latest amazing jet, and probably every damn military project. Like it used to be, like a state would get awarded, like a company would get awarded, to build like a battleship or whatever, and it was built in Connecticut, in the harbor, whatever, right in the yards.
Right.
Whereas like the new F-35 Phantom, oh my God, jet that kills its pilot with weird gases and shit and doesn't really fly very well. And that now China has a copy of. Now that we did all the debugging work on it, probably for trillions of dollars.
Right.
But I mean, the amount of dough spent on that thing, and it is parsed out to almost every state in the country, one little bit at a time. Mm-hmm. So everybody gets a taste.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to keep in.
Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to lose that great gravy train.
It's just, I mean, that is, again, that. Anytime people go, oh my gosh, how are you going to pay for something? Right there. I'm going to start right there.
Right.
And then if that doesn't get me where I need to go, then we might keep going.
Right.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
And I'm all for strong defense. And like I said, I've come around realizing yes, indeed, we are the world's police. Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
We just are. Fine. There's a certain benefit to our stabilization in the world, and we F stuff up, we screw stuff up, we destabilize the crap out of areas. I get that all around the world. I understand that. And we make mistakes, we make bad decisions. We have bad, not good intent a lot of times. But I think the overall, in our heyday, which is not now,
right?
The diplomacy that we work so hard. I mean, dude, like 50 years of diplomacy, 100 years of diplomacy is just shit down the toilet, dude.
Out the window.
Gone. I mean, if we get a new administration, like all of our old partners, I've got to be like, man, I mean, you're 4 years away from this shit again.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell? And apparently all the agreements that you made apparently aren't worth shit because your guy just backed out all of them. And I ain't religious.
Mm-hmm.
I'm spiritual, I guess, fine. and so I'm a business person, and I like deals.
Yes.
I like a good, solid deal.
Yes. Good. So that benefits on both sides.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the idea, and you're treating folks fairly.
Mhm.
People are, like you say, both folks are getting something out of it, because and that makes them want to maybe do that again,
Right.
and you do that again, and oh my gosh, you both benefited again, and you both benefited again, and that's good business from what I understand of business.
Right. That's great business.
Right? That's what I've always thought. But apparently, the old business expert of shit away the 400 million I inherited, bankrupt casinos, can't sell steaks. I mean, I and so that business, that's good business, is just canceling every deal you ever made, just canceling on it. Like in the business that I'm in, and it is an old school business, the business that I'm in. I mean, it is like, honestly, it's like one of the first businesses probably. I mean, like after Horan,
Right.
there was like the natural resources business.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Transfer of goods.
Yeah, and that might have been the first one, and the horse followed.
Yep.
But I mean, I still deal with folks by facts. I still deal with people that, like, place orders for, to me, what are large amounts of money. And I mean, it's done just like they just tell you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's other folks that are more formal about it, and they'll send PDFs of their super awesome PO, and it's all broke. You know what I'm saying? Which is nice. That's what I'd like to do, because I like to have it. I'm more structured that way. I like that, but I appreciate being a little more loose. I appreciate that older style of things, because
there's some structure to it, and there's some gentlemanliness.
There's your gentleman's agreement, because you're standing by being a goddamn gentleman.
Standing by your word.
Which apparently that's what's lacking in all of the law, is just people's honor or something. I don't know. Because if you're willing to not have any honor, turns out you could just screw the whole thing up. And there's, I don't know, maybe there's no consequence for that. I don't know. Do you have a light one? I feel like I want a light one.
I do. I do.
Give me a light one.
A light and funny one we could talk about would be, God, it's not really a light one. It's kind of one I had in buy or sell. It's, now that I think
it's on buy or sell, we'll do buy or sell whenever.
You want to do buy or sell?
We're an hour in.
All right, let's do buy or sell. Number one, buy or sell. Okay, commercial real estate. Are you buying or selling commercial real estate post-pandemic?
They ain't making any more land.
Okay.
Well, China is, but I mean, literally they are. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Like, they literally make like little islands out in the ocean, so that they can claim more territory. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with that.
God dang! Oh, we're gonna talk about that, because that's a good one.
Go
and
for
it's
it.
Real estate. First of all, real estate. Forget about it. If you can afford it, and I said this in the last recession in 2008, and I say it again now, all this is opportunity for people that got money. And again, the same people that have a lot of dough and they complain about taxes a lot, are also the same
The good old boys club.
Well, yeah, they're also the same that complain about like the redistribution of wealth. You know, that wealth is going this way, and I argue no, it's not. Redistribution of wealth is going this way.
Right.
It's going from all the folks that had a little piece,
and it's going up
to the few people that can to the few people that can afford to take advantage in times like these.
Right.
Because I can't. But if you could, I mean, you could make a huge come up. Mm-hmm. Or I mean, but the thing is that you're already at the come up level at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Be able to take advantage. It's not a come up, it's a stay up.
Right. I guess you got to have money to make money. But where I was going with commercial real estate is the company that I work for, you know, it was recently certified as $1 billion company. And we were thinking about buying and, you know, building an additional building on our campus. And I think our brain
maybe not now.
But yeah, they're thinking about probably not doing that. And that got me thinking about commercial real estate. So you look at all of these companies, like in Portland for sure. I mean, the last time I was in Portland, there's 4-story office buildings everywhere, especially suburbs, Tigard, Tualatin, and that. And now with everybody working from home, a lot of those buildings are empty.
No, that whole phenomenon is going to be a funky one to work out. But again, I do believe it will be the phenomenon of those that already got the money.
Right.
Will be able to make more money because they will scoop up that real estate. They can afford to scoop it up in the first place for what is pennies on the dollar, but is still way more money than you or I got.
Right.
But they can scoop that shit up for nothing to them. Sit on it if they have to. Right. Probably make effing money off of it as a tax loss.
Right.
I swear to God, you know that shit. If Glorious Leader can pay $750 for, you know, that's got to be one of them that you do is you buy up all that land,
you sit on
it. And well, yeah, I mean, if nothing else, it's a tax write-off because you're claiming all the loss of a building, and because all you got to do is have somebody appraise that building for whatever some stupid net worth. I mean, that's Glorious Leader's whole scam. I mean, that was his whole thing of like how if it's like Mar-a-Lago or one of the damn places down there, the loan that he got for it, was so overvalued for what the property is. You know, that's the whole game. All you got to do is have somebody overvalue the crap out of, let's say you bought, you know, every vacant office. Let's say you bought like the whole mall, Lloyd Center Mall.
Yep.
Right? The square footage alone, my God. You buy that whole thing and you get your guy to be able to write off. What value for that? I mean, holy shit. Because if you're trying to because all you got to have your guy do is justify, right? It's a lawyer thing. Oh, the value here potentially is just astronomical, you see. That's got to be a $700-800 million write-off, clearly, you know. So, I mean, that's the game, and they can sit on this property, let it go completely just derelict, right? Either sell it at some point when things get better, right? So if things get better, people start building condos, whatever, boom, they cash in there. If not, they just keep sitting on it until it just devalues so much. They just keep claiming loss after loss.
And then you supplement your taxes with that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I was thinking of is, like I said, my company is deciding probably not to build an additional building, right? Saving X amount of millions of dollars. When we look at the glut of commercial real estate that's going to be on the market, I get what you said, but you look at these companies who are letting people work from home, right? So you might have, you know, you drive down 217 in Tigard and you look off to the right and you see all those 4 or 5-story office buildings that are empty, right? When things do return to normal, people probably aren't going to be rushing back to sit in a cubicle 6 inches away from another person. So the
If they don't have
capacity,
to.
right?
If
The
they don't have
capacity of those buildings is going to shrink, right? If that building held 1,000 people, it's
to.
going to hold 650.
Yeah, for sure.
So my buy or sell is, do those buildings get raised and used for something else? Or what's your kind of thought of if you were running a mid-sized corporation where you had a small office building that you had options or leases on? What do you think, aside from the big guys swooping in with it, what do you think they're going to do with it? Like, what do you think, where do you think commercial realty is for office parks?
I mean, the big question, is like the return to, normal.
Right.
Um,
And what is normal?
well, I mean, anybody, would say normal is pre-COVID, right? Where you didn't have to worry about being in a building.
Right.
And the only way that's happening is vaccine.
Right.
And the only way the vaccine is even working is if enough people take it.
Right.
So with the way things are going right now, that's not looking real good. If we can get anybody that would choose to maybe unify us as a leader versus try to drive a wedge between every damn person, that would be great.
I mean, you bring up an interesting point.
Mm.
We're going to get to the point where either everybody has had COVID or people are vaccinated against COVID, right? That's it. And then you're going to have the people who refuse to get a vaccine for a lot of different reasons. I don't necessarily want to go down the
Well, they'll fall into the first category of people.
True. Eventually, yeah.
Right.
But let's assume we're, summer of 2021 and we have a reliable vaccine, right?
Okay.
Some people will choose to take it. Some people choose not to take it. Some people are going to remain kind of quarantined away from it. I don't know that, I don't know. I don't know that people are going to rush back into office parks and be sitting next to people for 8 hours a day if they don't have to. And I think if anything, the last 6 months, what's that now?
I was just going to say, I mean, if people don't have to, but the big thing look at states look at Florida, they're wide open, and so.
The highest numbers in the country.
Weird.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, so it just, as long as that continues, it's going to keep being a problem, and people are not going to want to go back if they don't have to, but yet I'm sure people there are being made to go back. Because and that's just it's fucked.
I mean, if the last 6 or 7 months have taught us anything, is that we are resilient as a people, and I am just as productive, if not more productive, in my job sitting at my desk at home. Like I'm getting stuff done left and right. Do I miss my people at the office? Absolutely. Would I love to have that kind of, camaraderie and collegiate environment? Absolutely. But if it comes to keeping me and the family safe, I get stuff done here at home in a way that I never thought that I would before. Right. And if I am a business owner of a large corporation that has, 1,000+ employees, and those 1,000+ employees are productive at home, or even if they are 95% of productive at home, the amount of money, like you were saying, that they can save by not occupying a high-rise tower.
Dude, for that, man, that's a no-brainer, right? They're going to be like, if you can get the same job done with all of your employees at home, and you can get the hell out of your office building, or choose not to have to. If you're a growing company and you had plans to invest in real estate and now you don't have to, oh my God, what good news for the shareholders?
Right. But look at just take Portland, for example. Look at the U.S. Bank building and the Wells Fargo and all the big towers that they built in downtown Portland. If those people never come back,
no, it's going to, that is what those will be turned into. I mean, condos.
I mean, does that all become condos?
Well,
I don't know.
doesn't that seem like the natural? I mean,
it does, but I mean, that's kind of the crux of my question is you look at most large American cities, top 20 American cities, and the skyscrapers, like what happens to those? Like, is there enough money for the rich people to kind of scoop those up and sit on a big 60-story tower?
how many of those are mostly empty anyway?
It's a good question. I know where I'm at in Charlotte, majority of the city in those big buildings are working from home. We've got 1,500 people in our building.
No, I'm just saying,
we might have 100 people a day in the building.
I was just saying, like in pre-COVID, like how many of those big office buildings were full at all?
Well, I'll speak to this in Charlotte. We've got a lot of banking jobs here. Charlotte was about 90% capacity as far as all the towers. Yeah, yeah.
Like, I remember seeing a map once. God, you would appreciate this. Okay, I remember seeing a map once. And I do not remember what building I was in. It was not the courthouse.
Mm-hmm.
It was at some bureau of something. I honestly don't remember, but it had a map of the downtown area showing all the buildings, and it just showed the ones in red are federally owned.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like all of them. I mean,
did that surprise you?
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I did not think that the feds own. Why would? That's weird. So it's already subsidized. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Are they just empty, big ass buildings already that were hopefully going to be filled and never got filled?
All right, let's go to another one. This is a light one. This is a buy or sell. That's a light one. So buy or sell, Mr. Jeff. Trick or treating in 2020.
Fuck no. Man, I mean, I want it to be normal too, yo. I really do. And I've grown to love Halloween almost even more as an adult now with my kiddos, because like my favorite thing that we've done like the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years maybe, is like we paint our faces. The kiddo usually goes as whatever, some superhero or whatever, but like the wife and I get our faces painted like the Day of the Dead, like in Mexico, right? Mm-hmm. It's really easy, just white and then some dark eyes.
Yep.
And I have like a big straw hat, and I just walk around with the kiddo while he goes trick or treating, and I have a big juicy cocktail. And it's great because I can walk around my neighborhood and I'm having a drink and it's so much fun. It's like the only time I get out in my neighborhood and I'm super neighborly, and I'm saying hey to everybody. I'm just I'm having so much fun. I'm having more fun than my kiddo is, and he's having a blast. And I'm gonna miss the shit out of it. I really am. Mm-hmm. Just like I miss a lot of stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I mean, there are people that have it a whole shit ton worse. And, to go, no trick-or-treating this year. You?
We're probably not going to trick-or-treat. We're going to try to figure out something where it can be somewhat normal.
Biohazard trick-or-treating. Like
one of the things that I thought of was we'll get dressed up in costumes and maybe we do kind of a Easter egg hunt, but we put candy around the yard and they get the bag and they go and do it. And
are you going to answer kids coming to your door?
Interesting fact. I have never in my 47 years handed out trick-or-treat candy. I've never been home on Halloween ever. I've always been somewhere else. And by the time I get home, it's too late. And if somebody's knocking on my door, they're probably not looking for candy.
Wow, really?
Never. I've never
Man,
done it.
you were just
Never.
on the go. All right, well,
Yeah,
I enjoy handing that. Again, that's another thing I missed. I enjoy handing out candy. I think it's fun. I mean,
yeah.
so I can't believe you never handed out Halloween.
I've never in my life, not even once, even when I lived in the apartment.
Man, that blows my mind.
Yeah, even when I
Like,
lived.
I picture you as like having like the most elaborate damn setup to your door of like Halloween extravaganza, and
Never
like
handed
dressed
out
as a
candy.
pirate or some shit,
No.
and like R to every damn person that came up, you know.
Even when I lived in the apartment, down by downtown back in the day,
Wow.
never.
Yeah. Well, you were just out partying or whatever.
Yeah, just or just, and then since I've had the kids, because I have the two older ones, so we were out with them, back
Mhm.
in the day when my wife and I first got together, and they were young when I met her, so we were
Right.
on the go or Halloween parties, but
I got you.
no, never handed out candy.
Well, you should try it sometime when things get normal again. Or okay, well then just imagine, if you will, that you were home, or you might be home on Halloween right now, and somebody comes. Are you gonna set out a pumpkin? Are you gonna have your light on? Are you gonna
We'll have a pumpkin out there. We'll do that, but I don't plan on having my light on just because I don't want.
like you gonna set out like a big ass bowl of candy out front? Be like, help yourself. I mean,
Maybe. I mean, here's the thing.
hmm.
I haven't been in quarantine since March to open the door to some kid and
That's
get.
what I'm saying, man. God.
I just, it's a risk that I don't need to take. And, one of the things that we thought of and I was thinking of is, we've got some other families that we've kind of dealt with that, we know we're kind of doing the right thing. And, we kind of thought of going up to the park and, kind of doing like an Easter egg hunt, but with candy, dressed up in your costumes. And, kids can run around and they can be socially distant and the parents can be socially distant. And each family brings X amount of candy and we hide it and the kids go run around and find it and we go home and eat it, something along those lines. I mean, is there risk there? Absolutely. But
No, I mean, I dig it.
there's a lot more risk than just go knocking on some stranger's door and getting,
Man, no, I get that, and it's so tough. I mean, because I feel like Scrooge, like at every freaking turn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm always like, no, 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 you can't go have fun. You and hopefully I can distract you with
Right.
something. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
and just like my little one, the little cartoon that was on the show here a few minutes ago, her
Mm.
birthday's coming up and she's been watching Nickelodeon and Disney. And she's like, Daddy, Chuck E. Cheese is open and they've got safety protocols. We can have my birthday there. And I'm like, no.
Oh, whoa!
Have you seen those commercials for
No,
Chuck E. Cheese? They're
no.
like, we're open, and they got everybody in there's got a mask on, and they've got some lady in the commercial with a spray bottle and a rag, following the kids around, wiping everything down after they got done using it. And I'm like, chance in hell I'm stepping foot in Chuck E. Cheese. No way.
That's just so sad. God damn, man, this whole damn thing.
Have you ever seen those commercials? Turn it on,
I
dude.
don't know if the Chuck E. Cheese here is still around. They might have folded up a while back. I haven't seen a Chuck E. Cheese commercial for a long time, but
Yeah, no, they just started running about 2 weeks ago, and my little one, she's like, I want to have my birthday at Chuck E. Cheese, and I'm like, you're not having your birthday at Chuck
I mean, what's next? Like at the freaking indoor playhouse jungle gym? I mean,
Those are open back here now, like the Sky Zones.
or pie hole.
The Sky Zones and the jump plate, those are wide open back here in Charlotte. They are open. What?
Do you go?
I haven't left the house.
Man, how on earth is one of those things? Oh my god!
The Dodge, yeah, those are open. They opened October the 5th, I think, is when we went into phase 3. All the jump zones and sky zones and trampoline parks. Yeah, they opened.
I mean, I fret about going for a bike ride.
Yeah.
In the outside.
Yeah.
With people around.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that nerves me out.
Right. And you got kids running and jumping and sweating and coughing and sneezing on. And think about the ball pit. Think about how that's just a humongous cesspool of disease pre-COVID.
I just think about
pre-COVID.
Yes, you're right, but I mean, I can't help. I mean, any indoor facility, anything indoors. I mean, there's no ventilation,
right?
That's good enough to be indoors. Honestly, I mean, there ain't. If you're wearing a mask, okay, fine. If everybody is, okay, fine. Be indoors. But if you're indoors, I'm just throwing this out here. If you're indoors, you're sharing air with whoever else you're indoors with.
Correct.
The end. You just are.
You are.
I mean, they're saying that the whole, super spreader event at the White House was from the outside event.
Right.
I mean, I thought, like, we talked about it. Like, I was thinking, oh, it was from like the indoor afterwards party. Like, that was the big. I still think that's got to be it. Because, right. But I mean, like, they're showing pictures like, oh, like, here's the outside event, and here's the president, and like, here's everybody else. Like, it was like the JFK thing or some shit, you know? And I'm like, dude was like, are they saying like Spittle was like going out his big anus of a mouth?
Yeah.
Shooting to everybody in the freaking first 3 rows?
Yep, exactly.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Dude, that makes me want to never leave the house. I mean, are you kidding? If somebody, and that's stunning. I mean, that, and again, and they know that he was positive then, right?
Yeah, but it fits their narrative though, right?
Oh.
I got one for you. All right. So all right. Staying on this event. So there is Charlotte is kind of like Portland.
Are we still buy sell, by the way?
Well, yeah, we're still kind of in the buy sell.
All right.
I had another buy sell, but we'll wrap it up after this.
Nah, it's good. Do another one.
So Charlotte is kind of like Portland, where there's a lot of breweries here, and there's a lot of places you can only get a beer if you go to this specific brewery. So I won't say their name, but there's a pretty famous brewery here in Charlotte that had this thing called Mecktoberfest. I live in Mecklenburg County, so it's kind of a play off Oktoberfest, Mecktoberfest.
Yep.
And this was 2 weeks ago. They had their Mecktoberfest. And it had been planned for a while, and they decided to have it, and they were going to have it socially distant.
Oh, sure.
And people showed up by the truckloads to go and hang out at this brewery, and they've got a nice open yard and drink beer. And now they're on the news saying this probably was a super spreader event, and if you went to the Mecktoberfest, you need to go and get tested. And it's the world's biggest duh, right? Because, tell me this, Joe, what happens when people have a few libations? What happens to them? What happens to their decision making?
Let me check. I want to go lick something.
Right. So if you came in wearing a mask after 4 or 5 8.5% beers, you're not wearing a mask.
Wearing a stupid mask at that thing? Come on, be honest. Nobody is even wearing one. There is no effing way. There is no way that anybody is wearing a mask at Mecktoberfest, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on my limb. I need a graphic of a limb to go out on. That's a segment. Joe's limb. Yeah. I'm guessing nobody in Mecklenburg was rocking a mask at the Mecktoberfest.
Correct.
Or if it was only to get in at the gate because they need you. And then as soon as you got in, woohoo, fuck it. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. I mean, that.
Yeah, and after 3 or 4 8.5% beer,
have these events going
you are
on
hanging all over your friend and your neighbor, and you're giving hugs. And
of course, because that's why you can't have these events. That's why you can't have bars open. That's why you can't have schools open. That's the whole reason.
Now, you want to hear the most ironic part? Guess where the health department has set up the tests that are going to be this coming weekend? Or it was today, Saturday. So they said if you were there, you need to go and get tested. Guess where they are having people come to get tested for COVID-19? At the brewery. How ironic is that? How ironic is that?
Oh shit! Come on back.
Yep. So they set up the big testing facility at the brewery.
I was really trying to work my brain for like some kind of like, come on, man, something good, something stupid, something just so over the top of dumb. I'm like blanking on it. I'm like, I don't know, like at a cemetery or at the hospital or back at the fucking brewery.
Right back at the brewery. So all these people.
Holy.
Yeah. I'm reading the story.
Are we just too stupid to make it? I mean,
do you need to go have a beer with 500 people that bad? Like, if I want a beer, I'll go buy one and drink it at my house. Like, do you need to get around that many people? Like, I don't know. I'm an old guy, right? I'm damn near 50 years old, right? My days about running around are long over. But do some people really need to be around people that much?
I mean, obviously, I guess so. And I'm just, try to put yourself back, way back when, you were out running around partying. And if something like this came up, would you have just been like, whatever? Before your kids.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like getting back to the idea of like 9/11 and like, hey, we'll all give up our freedoms if you agree that you're going to take care of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
We'll give up our freedoms and we'll act like responsible adults. And then you go do your jobs, government people, deep state, and take care of shit so that we can stop doing this silly shit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the whole agreement, because when this first came out, like, it seemed unfathomable before this, the idea of a lockdown, right?
Yeah.
Before COVID, if you would have suggested such a thing, people would have been like, that is the craziest talk. That will never happen in America. You would never get America. If you mentioned it now, if you said to everybody, hey, all we had to do was lock it all down for 6 weeks when this first happened, if we would have truly locked it down,
mm-hmm.
like lock it down,
mm-hmm.
like we could potentially be almost back to normal.
Right.
How many folks, here's a buy or sell for folks. Any takers?
I locked it down for 6 weeks anyway.
Man, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so many of us did and still are. And it's just like, and then getting back to like the Michigan governor. She tried to take a strong stance and then almost gets kidnapped and assassinated for it. Cool. She's trying to help you, you dumb sons of. Amazing. Yep. Amazing. I'm trying to help you. Help me help you.
And my last buy or sell.
Yes.
This can be kind of fun. This one, it's still kind of coronavirus related. Buy or sell that the NFL will be able to finish the season.
I'm kind of glad you brought up football, because I wanted to ask you about it, because just sports in general. And honestly, we could probably run the last half hour here just in this, but like, do you even care about sport? Obviously you do, because you went to the pig roast and Panther game last weekend, right?
No, I didn't go to the Panther game. I just went to my brother.
I'm sorry, not to the game, the viewing of, and then the pig roast.
Yes.
Which was, delicious.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And so
to quote somebody, to kind of change up a quote, I dig on swine. Shoot me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm big on the pig.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like 9 people there, all that I'm either related to or by marriage. So.
Yeah, but just strictly on the sports take, how much do you care about sports right now? Like, did you go to that for a gathering just to see some people and say, hey, because it was nice to see some folks, or were you like hot dog football?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Cool. Yes.
I man, I don't know. I've become about as crazy for the Panthers as I am for the Blazers. And I was always crazy about the Blazers. Um, Now, sports in general, I have not watched a baseball game since they came back. I just don't care about baseball at all.
But you're watching the football though, right?
I'm
So
watching football, and I've been watching about every basketball game.
okay. So how is that overall experience for you viewing sports now? Granted, you have the history of actually going to ball games, that's a big different experience than just viewing it in the first place. So being relegated to only viewing it on the TV, like the plebes.
Well, I'll say this.
Hmm.
I'll say this.
And in the weird new environment that it all is.
Yeah.
Like there's
So
like I've found personally, like I feed off. It's weird because I don't go to any ball games, but I enjoy the crowd being there.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? As a viewer on the TV, it's exciting when I hear people being excited.
And the fake crowd noise is kind of weird, isn't it?
I have honestly, dude. I have not watched any. Like I've watched like one clip of like basketball, like when the Blazers were still in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I saw like the digital, like it looked like freaking Minecraft.
Yeah.
Fans or something. I was like, I can't do it. I was like, I couldn't do it. And it's weird. The only thing I can watch is racing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. And even that, I'm only kind of moderately interested in, not like I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like during the hardest lockdown of COVID, because I like to watch a lot of sports from Europe.
Right.
And I mean, like they're already back to like some fans in the stands.
Yeah.
I watch racing out of Japan.
Yeah.
They've got fans in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
Not a ton, but they got some.
Yeah.
Then you see like effing like some NASCAR shit, and they got like they were in. Oh my god, I don't know where it was. Somewhere down south. And I mean, there was like a bunch of people in the stands.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah. So going back to football, so I've been a season ticket holder since 2014, 2015. And I haven't missed many, if any, home games in 6 years, right? So to me, when the Panthers are playing at home, I'm there. Regular season, preseason, postseason, whatever. So it was kind of surreal to like see the stadium on TV because like I'm not used to that,
Right. Yeah. Right on.
And the first Panthers home game was 0 fans, and the second Panther home game they were able to have 7% of the stadium capacity. It holds 76,000 people. So the second home game this past Sunday, it was 5,200 fans. And being a season ticket holder, PSL holder, I had the option to go, but I just deferred all my tickets this year to next year, so I'm paid up for next year. And the reason I did that was partly because of health reasons. Like I just, why put yourself around 6,000 people when you don't have to? But the second thing is, like you said, like I feed off of the crowd, like the people in my row. Like I know these guys. We sit together every Sunday. There's all the people around me. And if they've got everybody 6 to 8 feet apart, like the in-game ambiance is going to suck. It's good. You're going to be in a predominantly empty stadium, and I'm not paying full price. Part of what you pay for is that Christian McCaffrey scores a touchdown. We all rise as one and chant and sing the song, and you kind of pay for that. Like, so, it's a weird experience, but I don't mind watching it on TV. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, it's fine. I'd love to be there. But at the same time, that kind of fake crowd noise is just kind of weird. But then again, I go to a lot of live sporting events. Like, I live in Charlotte. So I go to the NASCAR race. It's here twice a year. And, there's 160,000 people at Charlotte Motor Speedway, which is a whole show on its own, right?
Did they do 160,000 people?
No,
year?
so they had like 10,000, I think. But they were kind of. But here's the deal.
I mean, it's got to be a pretty big
NASCAR.
I mean,
NASCAR hasn't had a sellout in a long time. So
really,
I mean, it's not been good the last few years anyway.
Oh no, wait. So it's racing, so I'd like to talk about that for a second since you brought it up, and you're in kind of the home of NASCAR country.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about why NASCAR is a little bit terrible. It's not terrible. It's just they have, from what I understand, 2 races a season where they turn right.
Yes, of the road course races.
That is good watching. That's good racing.
It's good racing.
That's quality stuff. And I heard that like the next year, maybe they're doing like a dirt track
series. Thinking about it. So the next race,
crazy shit.
The race this weekend coming up, it's in Charlotte, and it's called the Roval 400. So, and it's part oval and part road course. It's actually pretty cool. I went to it.
Now you're talking. Okay.
So if you're interested in looking at a little NASCAR this weekend, it's going to be in Charlotte. I will not be there. I'll be watching it on TV. But the Roval 400, not to give them a plug unless they want to send me some.
No, but that's because I could potentially be a fan of something because that sounds interesting because there's
it's super cool. So they have the whole backstretch where you're kind of going on the oval, the kind of traditional NASCAR oval.
And then they dip down into the infield?
When they come into the infield, it's like 9 turns. And then, so you get, they're going 80 to 120 miles per hour around the turns. And then on the backstretch, they're going 200 miles per hour. Then they got to brake to come back into the.
And the infield is dirt?
No, it's not dirt. No, it's not dirt. It's paved. Okay. But it is really cool. It's the coolest thing. So
yeah, those and that's my only thing. I just because to me otherwise NASCAR is just tuning in to wait for a crash. I mean that's pretty much what folks are signing up for. It seems like is it's coming. All these cars spinning around in a circle. Pretty soon they're gonna all go kaboom.
Right.
And that's what everybody is there to see. And to me, that's not racing. That's
what's your favorite style of race? Are you F1 or are you dirt? Or you?
Well, and gosh darn it, that's even going to be one of my things on my list here, which is kind of fun. Was how do you supporting different sports? Like, where do you how do you feel about it? Do you ever take a stand about it? Like, for example, I don't watch college football. Mm-hmm. I said a while ago that I could not, in my mind, support something that does not pay its athletes. I just I could not do it. And I cannot buy the argument that they're student athletes and they're getting paid in an education, because that's not something that's just BS. They're not there to get an education. They're there to play football, and everybody knows it. And they're not able to make a dime off of it, and that's ridiculous. And those schools make millions off of it, and that's even more ridiculous. And they're grown adult men, and so pay them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so so college football for me, I can't do it. Similarly, like World Cup, or is famous for having venues in some pretty questionable countries, and F1 is famous for it. I mean, F1 is like, if you want like a list of every like dictator slash just man, I mean, look at the list of F1 of a normal F1 calendar,
Right.
and then check out that country,
Right.
and see how that country's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're
Except for Monaco.
well, no fucking dude. I mean, and that's like just the ultimate, just because honestly, I mean, like you watch a race in Brazil, right?
Yep.
So let's think about this. You're talking about like that's probably like the almost last stop where this entire race series has traveled the globe a few times by now with all their massive amounts of equipment. I mean, their carbon footprint is just it's just the most ridiculous thing ever. The amount of money it takes to do all this is just the most ridiculous thing ever. You just have like on display just the absolute pinnacle of excess and extreme engineering, which is awesome, also excess. But I mean, that's what you have. You have on display the pinnacle of excess.
Right. Yep.
Driving past favelas.
Correct.
That's a weird look.
Yeah, it is a weird look.
I mean, you're trying to watch a race and you're like, oh, look, you just went through freaking Shantytown.
Yeah.
Is on like in racing, a big thing in racing is like they name the corners, right? Like every track, all the corners have a name. Usually it's for either like a famous racer, like from the area, whatever. They have a name, usually. And it's like, I mean, what are you going to name those ones in Brazil? I mean, they should just be named like the Slum Escorts. I mean,
think of it this way. Think of the budget for one F1 team for one F1 race in Brazil. Not Hamilton or the famous guys, but just think of like, the 15th place car, right? Think about how much it costs to engineer that car, to, put tires on that car, fuel in that car, get that car to the track, warm it up, race it, all the telemetry and everything in there. And then think about drive 5 miles from the track and how far that money could go. I'm not saying they'd have to use it.
But that's what's so messed up is that, I mean, it's not even 5 miles. Like when you watch the race, like the favelas are like they're butted up to the track. Yeah. Like in Monaco, like the big yachts and shit are butted up to the track. Yeah. In Brazil, it's the favelas are butted up to the track. And you're like, what am I seeing? I mean, how can I support watching this? That seems kind of wrong. I mean, Mexico City, not much different. Yeah, I mean, they're ripping around in an area. It's a little more kind of like the track is pushed away. I mean, Mexico City is pretty damn densely packed in, right? But I mean, even their track is a little bit stamped out away from. But I mean, Brazil, I mean, it's just stacked right up to it. But even at that, like they go to Russia, and like Uncle Vlad comes and congratulates the winner afterwards. Mm-hmm. That's fun. Mm-hmm. Right. You want to feel that, right? Like that's good.
Yeah. I mean, the Monaco race. I watched the Monaco race. I get up early. It's really early your time. It's early my time.
Oh, I never wake up to watch them live.
And it to me, it's like lighting money on fire, right? I mean, that is just.
Oh, the whole thing is just an event. You know what I mean?
There's $10 million yachts parked in turn 6.
Man, you want to see? The thing is, Monaco ain't got shit on Dubai.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, good.
Because like that's the last one of the season. I'm pretty sure is the Dubai one. It's either the first one or the last one. Because right, like Monaco is like, I mean, like most of the drivers live there or they have a residence there. I mean, all the casinos. I mean, it's James Bond. I mean, money. I get. You're right. There's a ton. But then you go to Dubai, and there's the straightaway in Dubai, because you go to Dubai and like all the yachts in Dubai are like as big as the ones in Monaco.
Mm-hmm.
Cat photobomb.
Yes.
Yeah. But like all the yachts in Dubai are at least as big as the biggest ones in Monaco. But there's one at the end of the strait that's like, I don't know, that's Bin Salah Bin Abdullah fucking, it's like the king's fucking yacht, man. I mean, it is so damn big. It's the King Kitty yacht is what that thing is. I know if you Google, I bet if you Google like yacht at the end of the Dubai Strait, there's a picture of it because it's there every damn year. And it's huge. So, and again, so you're talking like Dubai, slave labor.
Yeah.
That's cool. Probably built the track, you know?
Probably built the track.
I mean, so how should I feel okay with that? I don't know. I mean, if I skipped watching college football, how can I be okay with supporting something like that? I don't know. I really like racing, I guess, but it's tough to reconcile that in my mind.
So is F1 your favorite style of racing then? Is that?
I mean, I sure enjoy it. And one of the biggest reasons, I mean, it's such a spectacle because it's you know what I mean? It makes all other racing pale in terms of, you know, technology and revenue spent and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I mean, because NASCAR is NASCAR and it's sweet and all, but I guarantee you those cars don't cost the same thing as an F1 car.
No.
Not even close. So it's neat seeing that. I'm a big Lewis Hamilton fan. Just I like everything about that guy. I think he's just awesome. And it's neat because I see him now like even using his platform more in a social kind of a sense, which is really huge. I think that's really kind of cool because like one of the critiques of him was that he was kind of kind of a brat, which I don't know. I thought that was always kind of lame. I thought he was probably one of the least bitchiest F1 drivers I'd ever seen. I mean, some of those guys are some real pretty boy princesses.
Oh yeah. I'm looking on the old internet machine right now, and maybe our executive producer can get a picture of this yacht, and I will send it to you. It looks like a spaceship.
Is that the one on the Dubai Strait?
Yeah, I'm looking on. I don't even know if I want to say the website. I'm looking on a website where it has pictures of the Dubai race.
Yeah.
And this ship right here.
It's a big one, huh? I don't think it would fit in Monaco Harbor.
It is. It's ridiculous.
Aircraft carriers are almost that big.
I can't take my eyes off it.
A new desktop for you there.
I mean, this is. I mean, when you've got a helicopter pad on the back of your yacht, you made it. You made it.
I think there's two. There might only be one, because I mean, there's quite a few of them that have at least one, but that one, it's big enough for two. But
I never seen something like that in my life. I mean, I know Bill Gates is supposed to have some big boat, and Tiger Woods is supposed to have some big boat, but this takes it to a whole nother level.
You see what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying, because like you talk about the Monaco one, and those boats are big, right? But you see that one, and you go, oh,
yeah,
there's Daddy.
Yes, and I mean, here's the thing: there is so much money in Abu Dhabi and in Dubai. I mean, shit.
You got to have that to stand out.
You got to have you basically got to have the mothership to stand out, because the boat you'd have in Monaco, they're like, nice boat. Just like I'd see your Toyota Celica, be like, nice car.
Can you imagine like the chic dudes like roll up to Monaco, and there's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah. I remember my first beer.
No, I don't. I mean,
Yeah, man. But I'm a race fan. I remember I went to the
you've got
Budweiser's GI Joe's 200 a couple times.
nice. IndyCar came back to Portland recently, which is
Oh,
kind of
did it?
really neat. Yeah, it's kind of really cool. They actually just they had it just recently. I think I didn't go obviously.
'Cause I remember back in the day, it was always Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, they just got it back, and it's like in August or something.
I didn't even know PIR. I didn't even know they kept up PIR. I thought it was probably overgrown by now.
No, you could do like track time.
Okay,
They had lower club level racing and
gotcha.
whatnot.
That's a nice-
I mean,
nice
it was still definitely a functional track. It just didn't have the big event that the IndyCar race was the big event. That was the one. And then they would just have lots of. I mean, if you live in North Portland, you would hear the racetrack.
I remember. I remember hearing it.
Yeah, and those are just like enthusiasts that get to go on a track day, and you pay a couple $100 or whatever, and you go drive your car on the track or your motorcycle on the track. And I always wanted to do that. I think that would be a lot better than what I do now of driving on the road like a dumbass teenager. But whatever. No, the PR is. I mean, IndyCar is awesome. You got the drag racing in your kin, don't you?
Yes, my wife's uncle is a drag racer, NHRA. So, and that will shake your body to its core.
Do you go watch? Have you watched those? Like,
yeah, we've been, yeah, oh yeah. We
How
went
was
out to Vegas. It's awesome. So it was more awesome when he had a sponsor and he wasn't paying his own way to do it because you had all the cool stuff. But I mean, seeing a car go down a quarter-mile track and hit 300 miles an hour at the top end of the track,
nice.
just feeling that and smelling the nitromethane, it is like nothing else. I mean, it's just that light hits green and those things are going. Yeah, drag racing's fun, man. I like drag racing. It's really cool, and having her uncle being a drag racer, you get to see kind of behind the curtain. And I remember 2006, 2007 when we went to Vegas when he was racing. I got to meet Ron Capps and John Force and some of those guys when they were like in their heyday, and they were her uncle's friends, and it was cool. And got to go to the track and be down at the starting line. I've got to be down at the starting line when they're running because I get to ride down with the crew.
And you gotta like feel that, right?
No, you have to have earplugs. You have to have eye protection, and it's still you can feel like I've never felt my spleen before, but I felt it shake.
Felt it jiggle around a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it drag racing's cool stuff. So, and because of that, I've been fortunate that because of him, he was able to get us connections to NASCAR because all those NASCAR guys live in Charlotte. They live up at the lake, and he knows a lot of those guys. So I've sat in a NASCAR suite probably more times than I probably deserve to in my life.
Nice.
I've like really good pit tickets and met drivers and
that's fun.
Just stuff that like the normal people wouldn't do because somebody. So it's cool. So I've kind of become a racing fan in the time I was here, and I got I've got some pictures with like drivers, and I'm sitting leaning on Jeff Gordon's car. Like I'm leaning on Jeff Gordon's car.
Wow.
It's cool. And then I went to Bristol. If you know anything about NASCAR,
I know the name that it's a track.
And this was back when it was hard to get a ticket to Bristol, and I watched the Bristol race from the infield, like the infield at Bristol. Like
I gotta say, here's the thing: as a racing form, I do not care for the turn left circuit.
Mm-hmm.
As a spectacle to behold in person,
yeah.
To me, we went to wrestling once.
Yes, we did.
Again, I would never tune in. I mean, not since a long time ago, like when I was a kid, but because I didn't continue being a fan as an adult. But when we went as adults to a wrestling match, and it was a proper one. It was like the WWE. It was like, I don't know if we can say that. Fuck you, Vince McMahon. I'm gonna say it. It's WWE. I don't care. It was legit. It was a real one at Tacoma Dome, right?
Tacoma Dome, absolutely.
And dude, I don't think the Insane Clown Posse existed then. If they had, or maybe they got inspiration, like you said, they were big wrestling fans. And I've never been to that event, but I mean, as a spectacle to go to and be a part of, it was entertaining.
It was
more than entertaining. I still remember it now, and I don't remember a lot of stuff.
And I still
remember that.
Yeah.
Do you really? Nice. I mean, it was nuts, and and everybody was so excited. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like a rock concert.
And everybody knew the chants, and everybody knew what they were supposed to do on cue. And when one wrestler did something, everybody, you know, I mean, it was a production, man. It was awesome.
No,
I remember that in the Tacoma Dome. That was some good stuff.
I see the draw, you know, and similar, like I say, similar with NASCAR, and like I say, like I hack on it with like people tuning in just to watch a wreck. I stand by that. I really do, because I think that is the biggest draw to the turn left circuit is. I mean, it is the nature of that kind of racing. You can't race 20 cars 200 miles an hour, 3 inches apart from each other. And, oh, by the way, Rubbin's racing, and expect that to turn out well. It's always going to end badly. That's the idea. That's the point. You know, I mean, that's why everybody shows up. And while that is not the finesse of other racing that I'm a big fan of, I mean, like I like motorcycle racing. Like MotoGP is a big one, and there's very little rubbing in that racing. You know, so it's a different type of thing, but at the same time, whatever. It's a spectacle. It's fun to watch.
It is.
I do get that.
I mean, you know, call me what you want to call me, but back in the day, I was a huge wrestling fan. And so you and I, we went to Tacoma and we went to that pay-per-view. I think it was later on that same year or the next year, I actually went to Vegas to go to another pay-per-view.
Okay.
Which was awesome. I mean, anytime you go to Vegas, it's great. And, you know.
I'll fight you on that one.
Oh, dude, I love Vegas. Well, you remember. I used to get in trouble when I went to Vegas. I used to end up in some really interesting situations in Vegas, which
you may have to save some of those stories for the next episode because I hold on. I'm going to make a note here. That sounds like a segment. Jamal's Vegas stories.
Well, call it Nevada stories because some of it happened in Reno.
Well, I'm going to say Vegas, and then you'll be able to go from there.
Can I give you a little tease before we end?
Well, yes, but here's the thing. I got sit around all week long now going, okay, what notes should I make for our fine production here?
Yes.
But then we do this, and I'm like, oh, shit, that reminds me of something else. Sit back for 20 minutes. I got a story to tell you about Vegas.
All right, so I'll tease this. I ended up handcuffed to a fence with broken ribs, and I was not handcuffed by the police. We'll leave the rest of that to next week.
I've only got one teaser question. Let's leave the teaser question. Let's leave that. Woof. Did I know you at that point, or was that before my time?
This was probably in that 3 years where we had kind of lost contact.
And during that time was when you got cuffed in the middle of. Sounds like you grew as a person.
Yes. So it was kind of after my first entanglement, before my second one. It was in that time frame.
I don't know if your wife would like to be called an entanglement.
Yeah, no. I shouldn't say that because she's the best thing that happened to me.
That is a great clip, though, by the way.
Yeah. So it was.
My wife's the entanglement.
So this was probably 2004, 2005. Kind of went through a dark period right around there after.
Is it like Jamal Gone Wild? It sounds like Jamal Gone Wild. I know you went wild.
Like I said, I'll tell the story next week. But I ended up.
I can't wait to tune in.
I ended up, and our executive producer could turn this into a clip, but it was around 10 o'clock in the morning. I was handcuffed to a fence. Just one arm. No, actually it was two arms. Yeah, I was handcuffed to the fence, two arms behind my back, and I was not handcuffed by the police.
Were you getting serviced?
We'll just leave it to next week.
See, that was my question. Wow, man.
Oh, no. The people that handcuffed me had bad intentions. This was.
See, you aren't that, and this is what happens when you take a furlough from us having contact, and I can't save you from these bad decisions.
So, should I give you one more little clue as to?
Okay. Do you want to just?
No, I don't want to get into it now.
No, run with it. I mean, I'm here for you.
I was handcuffed by a person that was not a male. It was a very tough woman.
I think. Were you wearing clothes?
Yes.
All of them?
All of them.
All right.
It's a long story. It starts the day before, and it kind of goes into that. So I'll tell that next week.
Is this like the whole? I mean, is this basically like The Hangover?
Some people.
Is it going to be like an Asian dude, like talking about his dick a lot?
No. Okay.
It sounds like a Vegas story. I mean,
you remember when
I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah. You remember when I got kidnapped?
What?
I called you when I jumped out of that second story window. Remember when I lived at the apartment and you had to come pick me up when I had to run? Okay. Another story for next week. Remember when I lived in the apartment and you lived down the street from me?
Okay.
Right. Remember that. And remember the crazy girl that came to my house and like parked her car in front of my house and like revved the engine and honked the horn, and I had to jump out the window and I called you and you came and picked me up and we drove by and she was still there. Do you remember this?
I gotta say, I don't know why that one's not standing out for me. You
got to remember this. You got to remember this.
I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. And it's not standing out for me.
Well, we will dig into this next week. We will dig into.
Yeah, maybe like I'll do like some deep thinking on that one. You got wild for a minute, yo.
Yeah.
Man, what wild shit did your ass get into?
For everybody who's watched to the end, I want to thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And for those who just tuned in late, you are watching the Jamal and Joe show. And I want to thank you guys for visiting our YouTube channel. And there's a couple things you guys can do that I would really appreciate. You can like, subscribe, and comment. You can also share this link with your friends so more people can see the good stuff that we're talking about. We really appreciate it. And if you feel so moved, send us a tweet. It's at Jamal and Joe show on Twitter, or just comment here below if you want to hear some crazy stories, or if this is some of my people from my good old Central Catholic days, and you want me to not say your name in some of my stories, you probably want to go there. Actually, I probably won't say your name.
Call them all Steve.
No, because I just won't call him Ed, because Ed's a big part in all the stories. But
wow.
Anyway, I just put it out there. Now I got to send him the link so he can watch it. No, but
And if folks did just tune in here at the end, you might go, wow, one of these guys is kind of wild. I'm so intrigued. And then you might go back to the beginning of the episode and go, what is all this political shit? Get back to this wild stuff of people handcuffed and are they naked and what's going on?
I was handcuffed, but I wasn't naked.
See, I'm intrigued.
Yes. Yes. So for those of you who want to hear the wild stories about Reno and Vegas and Pharmacy Girl, like, subscribe, and comment. And be back here this time next week for another episode of the Jamal and Joe Show. You don't want to miss it. And sir,
I don't want to miss it.
I bid you good evening.
Take care, everybody.